So my name is Lara Hill. I am the writer and director of Slip, which is a short film script that I've written and am in pre-production for. So Slip tells the story of a married couple on a intimate celebratory date night. And once they make it up to their hotel room while they're having sex, the wife lets the wrong name slip out. And the name is her husband's dead name. The idea just kind of came from me as I was getting ready to go to a writer's group, and I had been working on a feature script that I've been wanting to write that follows a trans person. And so it's kind of, that's my experience, that's my community, and that's what I'm writing about and exploring a lot of my feelings and through my journey of transition. And I just had the idea of thinking about certain tropes about, particularly with couples and infidelity in film and media. This concept of like someone, a spouse letting the wrong name slip out. And I thought about what if the name was like the dead name, and just that information on its own tells you like a completely different story from what a lot of audiences might normally assume it to be. And from there, it just, that was like a concept that I really wanted to explore in a story to kind of tell a little bit of my experience through transition, and highlight some aspects of like specifically transitioning within a romantic relationship within a marriage that a lot of people who aren't part of my community might not be so aware of. I personally, for me, my story was that my partner at the time didn't stick around after I told her that I wanted to start hormones. And that's a lot of people's experiences once they transition, but it's not everybody's experiences. I've heard plenty of stories of couples who have made it through transition and come out stronger on the other end, or found ways to make it work, through maybe non-traditional relationships, and allowing their relationships to expand and change over time as their partner goes through the process of transition. And those were the stories that I wanted to kind of illuminate with this, while also exploring some feelings that I had associated with how things happened with my partner, with my ex-partner, who for me personally is something that I felt a lot, and something that may not be so obvious to a lot of people. I think whenever people, particularly cisgender people and heterosexual people, hear about stories about, within a relationship and a couple who transition, where one partner transitions, that they think about like, oh, that's so hard. And that's, they think about how sad that must be and heartbreaking. And for all the different reasons, that you think about, oh, maybe a partner not accepting or having a hard time with it. Or maybe, if they're on the, worse end of things, in terms of their understanding of trans people and my community, is maybe they feel bad for the cisgender partner. And for me personally, something that I experienced a lot during this time was this feeling of guilt, and not necessarily shame, but more a feeling that I was depriving my partner of something that they wanted, of a relationship and a particular version of me that they loved and they wanted. And that's something that this film kind of, touches on and goes into as it goes. My script is structured to sort of play into audience expectations of how this couple looks when the name slip happens. And we don't really realize, if you're coming in cold to the film, you wouldn't necessarily realize exactly the nature of the name that slips out until about halfway through the film. It's not necessarily a twist, but more of a revelation and more of the context finally clicking into place. And I really wanted to play with this idea of like what the audience expects this scenario and the situation, this relationship to be based on how it looks initially. And then as you learn more about them, it just takes on different dimensions, and you get into the feelings of, particularly of Owen, who is the husband who has transitioned within this partnership, and the film really explores how those feelings of guilt that he has, that I experienced personally, for how this relationship has changed, how it's been kind of required to change because of him stepping into himself for the first time. So we won the micro grant for production services, and the goal for us right now is we're hoping to shoot the film within the next couple months, and we specifically wanted funding to help secure a camera package and go towards paying some of our cast and crew that we have on board. We're still kind of scouting around for DP. We have a pretty big network. I'm based in New Orleans, and that's where we are planning on shooting the film. We have a pretty big network of queer, trans, and female filmmakers and film professionals in the area. And in particular, we're scouting and talking to a number of trans femme directors of photography, some of whom have their own camera packages. And so the production services, the micro grants that we won, will help us to secure those packages with them. So I'm only a couple of years into working in film full-time. My background is that I studied chemical engineering in college, and that's what I did for several years professionally before I moved into film. And I made a handful of short films during that time that I self-funded using my career, but initially I got the opportunity to jump into film as a second AD. And AD world has kind of been where I've been the last couple of years. I've been, taking PA gigs. I enjoy AD work. I actually just wrapped last night on a low-budget children's movie as the second AD. I'm wearing the T-shirt for it, The Magician's Raincoat, filmed in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And as much as I enjoy AD work, and that's kind of where I would like to be as far as a sustainable career, I'm a writer and a director first. And that's what I've been wanting to do. Slip would be the first short film that I will have directed since I transitioned, since I started that process. And so it's very meaningful to me for that reason to have, for a long time, the films that I have made and produced have not been focused on queer themes, but they're kind of exceptions within my catalog of work that I have wanted to write and have written, in that they're, that those films were focused on men and that they weren't necessarily queer in nature. And this one is kind of the first time that I've felt comfortable embracing that aspect of myself and exploring that to make something that explores this part of myself and really explores those ideas that I've been interested in for a long time, for until fairly recently, wasn't really able to tell why I was interested in them. But yeah, I'm also currently writing my first feature film script. It's also focused on a trans character, specifically following a transgender ex-pastor who is traveling across the South to start her life over in Colorado. And it's very much about her journey and some of her history with spiritual trauma, and how she left the church, how she lost her job as a pastor, and her feelings about her faith, and how a Christian culture and American culture based in Christian values views her and sees her. And that's what I'm working on right now. The title of that is, keep going back and forth on the title for that. Haven't been able to, but that's what I'm working on right now, and I'm very passionate about it, and have been making good progress. I kind of stopped a little bit when I wrote Slip to focus on the writing and the revisions and trying to get things going for that. But I hope to get that done and get that maybe produced somewhere down the line in a couple of years. I want to say thank you again to Pano and your panelists and your judges for the micro grant. It really means so much. This is I've historically had a hard time believing in my own stories and my own I guess, perspective as a filmmaker, and it means so much to not only have like my story, but specifically like a trans story be given any kind of support. Really, I'm so appreciative of it.